Hey, how's everyone doing out there? Hope you guys are doing good. It's Saturday, it's the 10th, and we got some UFC fights to talk about. So let's jump right into it. Hope you guys are all doing good. I'm just hanging out right now, about to start work, but obviously before that, I wanted to go over the UFC fights we have today. It's gonna be Marlon Moraes against Sandhagen as the main event in the bantamweight division, and also we have a featherweight fight, the co-main event, which is going to be Edson Barboza against Makwan Amirkhani. Hope I pronounced that right. But um, these two fights are going to be good, guys. You don't want to be missing them, especially because Marlon is a vet. I mean, he's beaten literally everybody you can name. Marlon Moraes has beaten Jose Aldo, so let's just keep that in mind, guys, because Jose Aldo's a stud, right? But whenever he was able to fight the competition, he was able to get himself in the rankings where he would be good for a title shot. And looking at the rankings right now on the UFC roster page, we see Marlon Moraes is the first contender. So he's number one, and then Aljamain Sterling is two, Cody is three, and then fourth is Corey Sandhagen. I honestly don't really know why Marlon Moraes took this fight. I think he would have had a better chance against Cody, but I guess the fighters don't really have much of a choice unless it's Connor, right? But it's gonna be Corey Sandhagen against Marlon Moraes for tonight. I think that's going to be a good fight. I think Marlon Moraes is going to win, like I predicted in one of my previous videos. But whenever we look and see what Corey Sandhagen has done, he's he's a good fighter. He's definitely got a chance to win. And one thing I was really surprised at was when I looked at the betting odds, I'd come to learn that Corey Sandhagen is the favorite, whereas Marlon Moraes is the underdog. And I told myself, wow, I thought that that was a mistake and should be the other way around. But apparently, there's a good amount of people that think that Corey Sandhagen is going to win against Marlon Moraes. So I certainly don't think that. I actually think that Marlon Moraes is going to beat Corey Sandhagen because of several reasons actually, and one of them simply is that I think Marlon is more hungry. I think hunger is definitely a factor to consider whenever you're comparing fighters against each other. If you want to go ahead and choose who's going to win, because I think skills obviously matter a lot. A lot of things matter a lot, but one of the main things that you guys want to focus on whenever you guys are making a choice of which fighter is going to win, especially if you have money online, especially if you're betting, guys, I would say, in my opinion, that knowing which fighter is more hungry is a really important piece in terms of determining which fighter is going to get the victory. Now, look at Tyron Woodley, for example. I mean, the dude was a stud. He was a stud at a certain point in time, right? Other than the fact that he's lost 15 rounds in a row in his last three fights. But I think that whenever Tyron Woodley was on his winning streak and knocking people out with his one punch, two punch blitz, as he usually would, I think Tyron Woodley was really hungry at that time whenever he was getting those victories. But whenever he fought, who did Tyron lose to? I keep forgetting the guy's name. It was a Brazilian guy. So let me just quickly think. He lost it. Hang on. No, he first lost to Kamaru actually, and then he fought. There we go. Gilbert Burns. So Tyron Woodley, think about this, guys. I think was actually pretty hungry against Kamaru, but whenever the fight against Kamaru didn't really go his way, I feel like he just lost mentally, obviously. So whenever he fought Gilbert Burns the second time, I mean the first time after his first loss, which he lost again, uh his second time when his next time that he fought Gilbert Burns, I didn't think that he was hungry enough to fight Gilbert Burns and beat him and to put himself again in the title contention to go to fight Kamaru Usman again. Now, obviously, he lost that fight. So, and Colby Covington lost to Kamaru Usman after as well. But right now, it looks like the fight that's going to be made is going to be Gilbert Burns against Kamaru Usman, which is going to be a spectacular show. But I think Colby's obviously going to have to wait for his turn. But he was able to redeem himself after the loss against Kamaru, beating Tyron Woodley. And the fight against Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington was always a fight that everybody wanted to see. So, I mean, there's certainly no loss there for the UFC. Now, when going back to the Marlon Moraes and Corey Sandhagen fight, I think Marlon Moraes wins this fight, gets another title shot against Petroyan. And obviously there's Aljo there, so I'm not exactly sure how the UFC is gonna go about with the logistics in terms of you know putting putting which fighters together. But in my opinion, I think Marlon Moraes is gonna be the victor tonight, and I am very surprised that he's actually the underdog because whenever we look at who beat who, I mean Marlon Moraes has literally fought killers, and Sandhagen has only um fought not he's fought good fighters, but I mean he hasn't fought the level of competition that Marlon Moraes has. So I'm trying to pull it up right now just to be specific here. So let's see there we go. I look it up on Wikipedia, by the way, guys, and let me know who you guys think is gonna win. So. And yeah, yes. So Corey Sandhagen last lost to Aljamain Sterling, but prior to that, he was on a what 7 fight win streak? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he was on a 7 fight win streak. So he was doing good up until the fight against Aljo. But whenever I look at who Corey Sandhagen has fought, I mean, the only two names I see there is Aljamain Sterling and John Lineker. I don't know any of the other people. But now let's look at who Marlon Moraes has fought. Marlon's fought Jose Aldo, Henry Cejudo, Rafael Ashoukal, who both fighters fought apparently and have beaten. Amy Rivera, Aljamain Sterling, which he beat. So and he has a lot more fights under his belt than Corey Sandhagen. So I definitely think that Marlon is gonna take this one. I don't even know why they have Corey Sandhagen fighting Marlon when I personally think that it should have been Cody fighting Marlon, which would have definitely, in my opinion, been a way more interesting and fun fight to watch. But either way, this is gonna be a good one too. So, yeah, it's gonna be an excellent main event either way. I think they're gonna go. I think they're gonna put on a great show. They're gonna put on a great fight, and I urge you guys not to forget and miss it. So, watch that fight, guys. Watch the main event, and then the co-main event is gonna be Makwar Amirkhani against Edson Barboza, and it looks like Edson Barboza is the favorite in that fight. And honestly, I don't really know about Makwan too much. Um, But I mean, more or less, it looks like he's done pretty good for himself to put himself in a position to be fighting Edson Barboza. So good for him. And I think Edson is gonna take this one. I mean, he's ranked what, 14, and I have no idea what the other guy's ranked, but yeah, I'm not able to see him here on the roster. But he's probably below rank 15. And here's another thing I noticed: whenever the betting odds are low in terms of price, like if it's like 110 and 140 in contrast to like 270 and 210, I always tend to think that every time it's higher for the price, I mean every time pretty much the number is higher, there's more of a chance for the favorite to win as opposed to whenever the betting odds are lower. So, for example, the main event, the lower the betting odds are, the the more unknown it is as to which fighter is gonna win. The higher the betting odds are, regardless of the favorite and the regardless of the favorite and the underdog, it's always going to be more apparent as to which fighter would win, as contrast to betting odds that are lower. So, the Corey Sandhagen and Marlon Moraes fight is obviously lower in terms of betting odds, so it can obviously go either way. But Marlon is definitely the underdog, whereas Corey Sandhagen is the favorite. So that's one thing to consider. But like looking at the co-main event, it's Edson Barboza at minus 270, whereas Makwan is plus 210. So in a situation like that, the higher the betting odds are, the more likely it is for the favorite to win. So, and this is something I noticed whenever Shamzat would fight his opponent when he fought Gerald Mearshart, and the betting odds was like 1,600 to like I don't know what, but obviously I realized from that, okay, then it's certainly apparent that Shamzat is gonna win, right? So, and as he did. So those are all definitely factors to consider whenever we're choosing which fighter is gonna win. And let's see when the prelim starts today. Looks like it's not just a little prelim. There's like how many fights? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 fights on the prelim, and how many fights on the main event? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 fights on the main event. So it's gonna be a total of 13 fights for tonight from the UFC. There's a lot of new faces, which I like. I like the idea that they're bringing on these new guys to give them a chance instead of completely reusing the old fighters and not knowing whether or not they're gonna go forward, right? So the third fight is gonna be Ben Rothwell against Marcin Tybura. I think that one's gonna be a good one too. And then there's Marcus Perez against Dirkus Duplessis. And yeah, I don't know a lot of these fighters, but the top 3 fights are gonna be good. But let's jump into which fighter will fight who after they win or lose. So, and I just want to do the main event for this one because Edson and Makwan are like ranked 15 and lower. So, I mean, there's not really even a point to go over that in terms of who's gonna fight who. But let me do that for the main event for Marlon Moraes against Sandhagen. So it looks like Petroyan is the champ right now, and it's Aljamain against Petro that is likely going to be